about those Tigers?
They're not terrible.
How about
right
those
now.
Tigers? Yeah, so I'll just talk about the Tigers today.
That was a fun day on campus. We made our picks at the end of the week last week, and there's a little tongue-in-cheek on both of the picks, I think. We're just trying to keep the vibes where they needed to be. But if you were listening to the pregame show on the LSU Sports Radio Network on Saturday when I was doing it, the vibes on campus were so good. It was such a good weekend. The weather was so good. Everybody was happy coming off a big win over Florida. And I said on the show, I was like, this feels like 2018 Georgia. It feels like there's a good team coming in, and LSU hadn't quite found its way yet, but it's going to be a big crowd. LSU's going to play really well, and they're going to come out and win the game. And it didn't look like that in the first quarter. It looked quite poor, actually, in the first quarter, but the last three quarters were an absolutely utter domination. And LSU runs away and wins at 45-20. And now we totally reframe the entire conversation around this LSU team, because all last week it was, yeah, that was really good, but did something click, or was this just part of the roller coaster? 2 weeks in a row, Jaden Daniels has been absolutely brilliant. The offense has been great, and you've gotten some really impressive wins over functional football teams. How good are Florida and Ole Miss? I don't know exactly, but they're functional, and they've got some good players, and LSU outclassed both of them for the majority of both games.
Yeah, I think this is the version of the Tigers that I kind of picked to go 9-3 early on in the season, and then you're kind of seeing that coming into full display with how they're playing. And you kind of look at some of the woes of this football team, special teams that didn't, know the offsides to start the game.
To start the game. They gave it offsides on the kickoff.
But I think after that, the special teams played extremely well, which is something that's really been ailing this team. And I thought the offense, man, that's the type of SEC offense that I think Denbrock kind of had in mind when he came into this conference. You got the quarterback that's kind of taking full control of this offense, and he seems comfortable. He's setting rushing records as a quarterback, as a passer. He just seems so much more confidence. The receivers are in rhythm. They're making big-time plays down the field. And I think the running game, that's something that you were missing in a lot of games where you're really struggling. Getting Goodwin back in, I thought, helped. I think Josh Williams has earned that. I know a lot of people were questioning, why is the walk-on in there? Why is he playing?
Yeah.
I think he's ran his tail off, all season long, and that's kind of why he's gained that. And the defense, another second-half shutout. That's extremely impressive and extremely hard to do in the SEC. And you can kind of feel it in that game, the game flow of the game, when they were getting that run game going, Junkin scoring touchdowns. I'm like, look, if we get a lead and they force Dart to throw a football, it's not going to be good. And you kind of saw that on full display. They really, really got after him and started. He started taking those big-time hits, and it seemed like he really didn't want to make those accurate throws down the field, and you really shut him down with his legs in this game. I thought was huge to really kind of stifle that Ole Miss offense. So looking at this game as a whole, took full advantage of that electric atmosphere in Death Valley. Obviously, homecoming got everyone in great mood and great feels, and the Tigers backed them up. And you saw the fans storm the field a little bit. Tiger students taking out a little
much,
fun.
but they're kids, whatever.
The Mississippi kids and Mississippi school little brothers.
Let's call it. Yes.
Yeah, storm the field on little brother. But I think when you watch this football team the past 2 seasons and you get a performance like that, I think everyone's going to be a lot more happy than we've had in a long time.
So many angles, and we're going to go the entire first hour on this game and this team. So there's a lot of time to get into all this, but I think any conversation that does not start with Jaden Daniels is probably burying the lead a little bit. You look back at the last 2 weeks, and he has just been nothing short of brilliant. And it takes me back to the Florida State game where it looked like LSU could not do anything on offense. They could not run the football. They weren't couldn't get the ball down the field, couldn't throw it. It was basically just Jaden Daniels running for his life for 4 hours. And now to look at this thing as finely tuned a machine as it is, yes, Florida's defense is atrocious, but to go march down the field, not short fields, not turnovers, march down the field for 6 straight touchdown drives to open that game is unbelievable. And then you look at what they did in this game, and it was just a methodical beatdown. They were not hitting huge chunk plays more often than not. They were just moving the chains. They picked up 35 first downs in this game. 35 first downs. That's outrageous. I mean, there's plenty of games where you only run around 60 plays. To get 35 first downs, that's just continually chewing up yards any way you want it. And Jaden Daniels is running the football extremely well. He ran for 121 yards and 3 scores in the game. He's getting the ball out of his hands quickly to the playmakers. If you wanted to see more of that early in the season, and for whatever reason it wasn't, so many throws just around the line of scrimmage to let those guys turn it up and make some plays, and then finally hitting some plays down the field. Yeah, the touchdown to Jenkins, He saw it an hour and a half late. I'm sitting there watching that, and Jenkins comes out the back. There's nobody there. Ole Miss has totally busted the coverage, and Daniels didn't see him. Then by the time he worked all the way back down the field, two Ole Miss guys were able to run back into the picture, but they were so far out of position. By the time they had run into position, their back was to the quarterback, and Jenkins was able to make a play on the ball and score for a touchdown. But that even the bad things LSU did, which he missed the receiver there, resulted in a 35-yard touchdown. So it was a clinic from start to finish.
Yeah, it definitely was. And I thought, the way Ole Miss started the game, it was like, oh, man, are we getting this former version of this team to start the year? Those struggles.
Lane had a script, and it just cooked.
Yeah.
They just had no answer for it.
Yeah, those first 15 for Lane, they're really, really difficult to deal with. And then I kind of saw what you said earlier in the week, that tempo. They were getting to the ball.
They were.
At an electric pace, and the receivers were just sprinting, handing the ball to the ref. And I'm like, oh, goodness, are they going to score 30 in the first half? But this defense, man, I think Matt House can't get enough credit for what he's done, especially in a lot of these second halves and a lot of these football games. Against Florida State, you saw them play huge in the second half. Obviously, Auburn, you played huge in the second half. This game, you played huge. And that's the type of adjustments you need to make. And I think the question of the week is, can we get more Perkins? It seems like when he's not on that field, bad things are happening for that defense. And when he's on the field, you just see him constantly making plays, and you see him constantly getting after the quarterback. But I think all in all, that was a great performance by the defense and really backed up by the offense, the way they ran the ball. Obviously, when you have to worry about Jaden pulling the ball out and doing the things he can do with his legs, it just opens up so many rush lanes for those running backs. And I think what he's doing as a passer right now is going to be very, very difficult to deal with going forward. So that was just a big-time performance all the way around for the Tigers.
On the defensive side of things with Matt House, I don't know what they're doing at halftime. I don't know. I can't point on the field and show you what they did differently here versus there. But in just about every game they have played this year, they have thrown the clamps on them in the second half. Mm-hmm. Auburn could not move the football. Mississippi State could not move the football. Florida State didn't do a ton in the second half of that game in New Orleans. Florida did get a little something going, the 81-yarder just on the first play of the fourth quarter. Okay, I don't know if I can put that on the defensive coordinator when you miss 4 tackles. But he is proving that when he gets a sample size there into the second half, he's able to figure it out, and they're shutting teams down in the second half. To me, it falls on coaching. Again, I can't cite any specific examples, but there have been enough of these now over the first part of the season where I can look at it and go, they're coached well, and they're figuring it out pretty quick. Yeah,
no, that's the biggest thing why I was feeling so great about this football team going into the season. It's just like it's a huge upgrade from the staff down. I know you had your concerns about special teams at the start, but I thought the way they played in this game, it gives you a little hope going forward. But I think offensively and defensively, it's just night and day from what you saw last year. You got a coordinator who knows exactly kind of what he wants to do with this offense, and a defensive coordinator who's running an NFL defense. You don't really know what's coming. They're mixing up the coverages, and obviously when you bring that Perkins package in, you know the playmaker he is. They've shut people out in second halves, and they made it very, very difficult to score touchdowns, and that's what you need to win football games. And so looking at this coaching staff, I know people had some concerns, especially with some of the performance they have, but to me, football, it's a long season. You grow and you learn, and there's so much things that they're learning with all these new players. I think they're starting to figure out kind of what their identity is offensively and defensively, and that's a team that's going to be difficult to deal with going forward.
In the second half, Ole Miss had 112 total yards. They ran it 16 times for 32 yards. They passed it 8 of 18, which is 44% for 80 yards. They were terrible on third down, 1 out of 5. They were 1 out of 2 on fourth down. They simply couldn't do anything in the second half. And you mentioned Perkins a couple of times. Both Jackson Dart and Lane Kiffin mentioned him in the post-game press conference. Somebody asked Lane, they're like, all right, well, what happened in the second half? He goes, well, for one, they put 40 out there a lot, which we thought they would do, and he's just different than the other guys out there. And that's as simple as you can put it.
Yeah.
That's pretty accurate. And I listened to an Ole Miss podcast yesterday that they recorded. They were talking about Harold Perkins. Lane Kiffin's talking about Harold. You notice him when Ole Miss fans that are watching, they don't know anybody on LSU's defense. So they all notice 40. It just that's the effect he's having on the game.
No, it's huge, and we've been calling for it all year. I mean, I know Matt gets on me all the time riding the 5-star #1 linebacker in the country, but all 5 stars aren't created equal. I can tell you that right now. And if you just watch LSU game when Perkins is on the field, he's making plays, whether it's on special teams, whether he's rushing the passer, he's running guys down from the backside. He's just doing all the things that pop out on your TV when you cut LSU on and watch him play. And I know kind of you're getting a little more answers to why he isn't playing as much as he should be. I think, just learning all those linebacker positions and kind of figuring out what he can do well. But man, I just want to look. If I got to sit down with you, Perk, myself, and go over the defense, we need you out there.
You got a bye week.
Yeah,
do whatever you need.
Yeah, we need you out there on the field because you can just feel his impact in these football games. And I'm telling you, in 2 weeks, you're going to have a quarterback that you're going to probably have him kind of spying and trying to figure out.
Heard of the guy.
Yeah, so
seen him.
Yeah, you're going to need
Not
Perk.
pleasant.
Yeah, you're going to need him out there. So, but yeah, I think anytime you're getting impact like that from a freshman, it's huge, and we need to see him out there more. Thanks so much for watching Hunt Hill on YouTube.
Now do us a favor. Hit the red subscribe button below and throw us a like. We'll see you next time.